What's up, guys? My name is Tyler.
I'm Matt.
And today we're going to be doing our final ranking of all the Star Wars movies. That includes the main episodes and then the 2 spin-off movies. We did this before. I never uploaded it because I figured Rise of Skywalker was right around the corner, and we might as well wait till after that comes out to do this list. Spoilers for every single movie in the Star Wars in the Star Wars universe. That includes obviously Rise of Skywalker. So here we go. So we're going from least favorite to most favorite. So at number 11 for me, my least favorite is Attack of the Clones, Episode 2. Yeah, I just I don't like this at all. So there's a lot of problems I have with the prequels. One of which is the CGI. I also think that the acting is stale. There are some good characters that come out of the prequels, mainly Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor.
I like Ewan McGregor in all 3 of them.
And I mean, but other than that, I also like that they took away Jar Jar Binks a little bit more for this one and kind of toned him down. But other than that, there's really just nothing to this movie for me. It's just boring throughout. The CGI is bad, and Hayden Christensen's acting just wasn't very good in this. It improves later, but I just didn't think it was very good. So
yeah, I think so too. This was one of my favorites when I was younger, but mine's also Attack of the Clones, but as I grew up, I just grew to hate this movie a lot, and I like Ewan McGregor, like you said, and there are like some cool like fight scenes, but really I just don't find it that good of a movie like at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just problematic, I feel like. And the biggest thing I can't look past is the CGI, honestly. I mean, I just can't look past it
It's
at
a
all.
little bit better than Phantom Menace, but...
So, at number 10 for me is The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. So the main reason I don't like, or main reason I like this a little bit more than Attack of the Clones, 1, the pod race, 2, I like Qui-Gon, and I also prefer the kid actor over Hayden Christensen, admittedly. At least in between this and Attack of the Clones. And I also like Darth Maul. The final fight scene with Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon is pretty cool.
Right, me too.
But other than that, the CGI suffers even worse than Attack of the Clones. Like the Battle of Naboo, like when they're in the daylight, it really shows just how bad the CGI is. And I don't know, the acting felt stale. It felt like a movie in front of a green screen rather than a movie that you could actually immerse yourself in, and I just don't like it.
Yeah, for me, this one and Attack of the Clones, or I have the same number again. I also have Phantom Menace. And for me, this one and Attack of the Clones are about interchangeable, because when I was writing my list down, I was trying to figure out which one would be in last place. And I do like Phantom Menace slightly more than Attack of the Clones, but I still have many, many problems with it. I really do like the end fight's pretty cool. I really like Ewan McGregor a lot. I feel like he adds a lot to all 3 of these movies. And but yeah, it's still not a movie I like really at all.
So at number 9 for me is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is definitely, in my opinion, the most watchable of the prequels. The end fight, while it looks extremely choreographed, that's my biggest problem, is it doesn't look like a lightsaber fight. It looks like 2 people that are very obviously carefully choreographing a fight, and then they perform it on screen. That's what it looks like to me, but it is still cool. Nonetheless, I felt like Hayden Christensen's acting was a bit better in this, a bit more bearable. The CGI was alright. It was actually pretty good in this movie in comparison, at least to the first 2. And this was a bit darker. This was the first PG-13 Star Wars movie, and I think the darkness kind of helped it a little bit. But as for problems, I do have a lot. And Hayden Christensen's acting still isn't that great. I also don't like that they killed off Dooku so early on. And I also don't like how sudden his turn to the dark side is. I mean, I know he was a really big brat in Attack of the Clones, and, they've been kind of building that he's vulnerable to the dark side. I still felt like it should have been harder to turn him over.
And number 9 for me is also Revenge of the Sith. I would say I like this movie, but I wouldn't call it a good movie either. I think this one, unlike the other 2, has a whole lot of fun in it, like several little things throughout. But I don't consider it a good movie either. I think there's so much corniness in it, which that also adds on to the fun. But I did really like the end fight. One nitpick on that, though, I would have preferred the lightsabers not be the same color. I don't know why that bothers me, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
But I really did like the end fight and some of the stuff. And I didn't really like Natalie Portman in the other 2. I thought she was a lot better in this one than she was in episodes 1 and 2.
Another big nitpick I have throughout this whole prequel trilogy, as we're wrapping up with the prequels, is I feel like George Lucas has no idea how to allow his actors to express emotion without them verbally saying it every single time. They say exactly what they're thinking rather than letting us, the viewers, figure it out through facial emotions. And I think that's what really made Hayden Christensen's acting suffer, is because of just bad writing. Anyways, moving on to my number 8, it's gonna be Solo. I actually think this is a pretty fun movie. Kind of the same idea with the same thing as Revenge of the Sith. I think this is definitely better than Revenge of the Sith. The actor who played the young version of Han Solo did a pretty good job creating it, recreating that magic. The story is kind of just everywhere, and really the only reason I like this is because it's just a fun adventure movie. I thought the twist at the end or it wasn't really a twist, but the whole showing Darth Maul at the end was absolutely stupid and unnecessary, and setting up for a sequel that no one wanted.
Number 8 for me is also Solo. I think I like this movie a lot more when I first saw it. I still think it's a fun movie, and there's definitely it's definitely a better movie than Revenge of the Sith, but I kind of put them in the same boat where they're more fun to me than actually like good. I think it's just kind of an alright movie. I actually did really like the cast, and I thought I forgot her name, but the one that Emilia Clarke plays added a lot to it. And I really, really, really like Donald Glover as Lando.
At number 7 is The Last Jedi. So, with The Last Jedi, I know it gets a lot of hate, and I think I get why it gets so much hate, and it's because it's so incredibly different from everything else. And I think it also turned everything that fans expected upside down, and it tried to give you the unexpected. So for that, I can see why it got so much hate, but I love it. I like that they changed so much. I like that they did what you didn't expect, and that made the movie a lot more exciting to watch. I thought Luke's story arc might be my favorite Jedi story arc in the movies, honestly. The cinematography in this movie is really good, and I just like the story. I have some nitpicks with it. Mainly, I actually like the Finn and Rose side plot now, just because I feel like a lot of people see it as pointless, but what I see it as is it teaches Finn, because in Force Awakens, in the beginning of this, he fights for himself and Rey, and what this does is it teaches him to fight for something bigger. Yeah, the kiss at the end was stupid, but other than that, I thought that whole arc was really well done.
My number 7 is actually Rogue One. Now, I don't want anyone to think I don't like this movie. Oh, you put it under Last Jedi. I really like Last Jedi, so that's not like really saying anything. So I really, really like Rogue One. I thought that Darth Vader fight scene was awesome. I kind of felt a little bit unnecessary to the movie, but it was fan service, and I usually really like that. I thought that was really, really well done, and I really, really liked the movie. I kind of, spoilers, got really annoyed that every single person died.
So my number 6 is Rogue One. Just barely above The Last Jedi. The reason being is that last about 30, maybe 25 minutes, really well done. I liked that they killed everyone off just because it added some drama, and it really made you feel a lot more for the Rebel Alliance. It really made you understand just the dangers of war and how dangerous it can be, and like the lives that are at risk and the good people that die. And this really brought a good light to that. And I feel like both this and The Last Jedi did a really good job portraying the consequences of war, which I feel like all the other ones don't do as well, despite the fact that there's obviously a lot that are better. But I really like Rogue One. I think, again, it's what separates it from The Last Jedi and what makes it just a little bit better for me is that last 25 to 30 minutes. Had that not happened, I don't even think this would be above Solo. But that last 25 to 30 minutes gets me every single time, and I just love it. And I also like the cast, too.
My number 6 is The Last Jedi. So I really like this movie. I do understand why people don't like it, but I feel like for a lot of the reasons that other people don't like it are the exact same reasons that I do like it. I honestly loved everything about what they did with Luke, and I just love the idea that he was so afraid that there was going to be another Darth Vader, that he was going to kill his own nephew to prevent that from happening. But he also stopped immediately. Like, he realized that it was wrong, but then, of course, Kylo sees him doing that. And, of course, he freaks out because his uncle is going to kill him. But, I don't know, I just feel like so many things were done right in that movie. And even a lot of the things that I didn't like before, like the Rose and Finn side plot. I feel like I'm actually completely fine with it now. I don't really like the part with the animals. I didn't think that, but I thought I did end up actually really liking their adventure that they went on.
All right, so my number 5 is The Force Awakens.
Me too.
I really, really like this movie. I remember when it first came out, actually, though, I didn't like it very much. I saw it with him the first time I ever saw it. And I remember I didn't really like it just because at the time I felt like it was underwhelming and a bit of just a fan service. It was basically, and it is just a bit of a recap in modern form of the original trilogy, but I think it's really good now. I've kind of grown to just absolutely like it. The scene with Han and Kylo Ren where that, you know, he's trying to save his son and then he stabs him with the lightsaber, and that eventually leads to him, like, it burns, like, it completely burns a hole through Kylo, and that's kind of what leads to him turning eventually back to Ben Solo, and I just think that they set that up really well.
Yeah, I really like it too, and it's also my number 5. Just like him, I didn't really like The Force Awakens when I first saw it. Honestly, other than like some stuff that they did with like Finn and Rey, I think I was disappointed on just about everything. But then I went and saw the movie for a second time, knowing what I was going to see. I think I was expecting a completely different movie for some reason than what we actually got. And the first few times I saw it, I didn't like Kylo Ren at all. I thought he was really kind of annoying, which is funny because he became my favorite character in the next 2 movies. I think in this one I probably liked Finn the best. But yeah, I really have grown to absolutely love this movie. It's not as good as the other 4 above it, but I like just about everything from it, and I thought that Han added a whole bunch to the movie. It was nice because it was kind of like branching off from the original trilogy where you have a familiar face, but then it's also you have your new characters too, and then getting to see them like Han interact with like Rey and everything for the first time.
So at number 4 for me is Rise of Skywalker, which is the newest one, and this was a very pleasant surprise. I actually think that this was easily the best of the sequel trilogy, but I think this did a really good job of pleasing the Last Jedi haters. I don't think it did a very good job of pleasing Last Jedi lovers, just because that movie tried to change a lot, and then this movie kind of tried to erase all of that. Regardless, I actually like this movie a lot. It was just a big fan service movie, and I understand that. And it was very fast paced. Like, it's very hard to keep up with at times.
I know, the first half especially, you do not have 1 second of breathing time.
No, it's continuous.
This, here, and here. And
but if Rey killed Chewbacca, by the way, there's like a scene when they implied that she might have. I would have been so pissed off because that's the way he goes out. That
probably honestly would have ruined the whole movie for me.
That wouldn't have ruined the movie, but it definitely would have ruined the character of Rey. Even though Leia wasn't in the movie much, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. She was in it for enough to where I felt like she mattered at least a little bit, and I'm glad that she went out the way she did.
I didn't really feel like it just came out of nowhere either. I mean, I know they obviously had to write around her dying, but I think her...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know they used footage from the other 2 movies, like deleted footage, and then all this. And I think they used stand-ins on some parts, but I thought they did a really good job with the amount that they could use her, because obviously, I mean, I'm glad that they didn't decide to just immediately go the CGI route.
Yeah.
I think it's better that they don't do that sometimes. Finn was a little...
I was underwhelmed with him.
Yeah, he definitely...
especially in the first one. Yeah,
first 2, he had a really good story arc.
And I felt like even Poe got, I think, more...
Poe definitely also had... I should have mentioned that. Poe has a really good story arc from The Last Jedi to this, by the way.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, Finn didn't do anything,
like
did he?
Sim didn't... Yeah, Sim. Yeah, I feel like Finn really didn't do a whole lot. I liked it.
Finn's just watching on like, oh, you love him now? Okay.
Finn got
he got like 3 love interests throughout this franchise. But yeah, anyways, let's move on now. My number 3 is gonna have to be Return of the Jedi. I have issues with this movie in comparison to the first 2, but I actually like almost everything about it. I like the end fight scene. The Ewoks are alright, yeah, they are kind of annoying. I think they're in a lot of the movie. I also don't like the amount of time they spent with Jabba the Hutt at the very beginning. I think they could have trimmed that down a little bit and add some, maybe just more scenes with the characters communicating and this and that, but I love the end fight scene. I think that the end fight scene with Vader and Luke is the best saber battle ever.
Yeah,
Fight
that's my
me on
favorite
that.
scene of all Star Wars.
And then Vader sacrificing himself, redeeming himself.
But didn't himself.
He killed. He only killed kids and thousands of people, maybe even millions. But blew up a whole planet. But he's redeemed now. But anyways, he brought balance to the Force, which if you're a huge fan of the prequels, that kind of makes everything go full circle for you. I also like that. I'm not a big fan that they put Hayden Christensen in replacement at the very end, but I like the scene when he leans against the tree and looks over at the Force Ghosts.
The re-edited ones.
But it's still a very, very good movie, all in all. I'm complaining about it a lot, but actually, every time I watch this, I enjoy almost every second of it. I just have some very small nitpicks, and that's why it's my least favorite of the original trilogy.
All right, so my number 3 is A New Hope. I do really, really love this movie. Obviously, it's my number 3 spot, but definitely my least favorite of the 3. I feel like even though Return of the Jedi is definitely a worse movie than this one, that one is just so fun for me from start to finish. There are definitely things that are not good about that movie, but I really, really just love the other two. And so this is a better movie than I would say Return of the Jedi is. But it's definitely my number 3. I also watched it the least of these original 3. I don't know. There's something that doesn't drive me to come back to as much as Empire and Return of the Jedi do. But I really love everything. Luke is one of the best well-written characters I'd say ever. I love everything about Luke. He's definitely my favorite. And I just feel like just about everything in A New Hope is basically perfect. Not on like Empire standards, but I really just really like that movie. I think the lightsaber fights could be better, but I'm also holding that against it because I love basically all the lightsaber fights in the other movies, and I feel like this has the weaker fights just in this movie, not of the rest of the original trilogy. But I just find the other two of the original trilogy to be more rewatchable than I would this one, but I still love the movie.
Yeah, with the lightsaber fights, I will always say I prefer all of these original fights over the prequel fights, just because it felt like a real sword fight rather than two people dancing with each other essentially with laser swords. Anyways,
I agree.
Going on to my number 2. My number 2 is A New Hope. I really like this movie. I almost like everything about it. This was probably the least action-packed of every single movie, just because it was more or less about the story rather than trying to be action-packed. But I love, again, the scene with Luke looking at the twin suns. I do like the lightsaber fight with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, even though, if you go back to like episode 3 and then they go from that to doing what they were doing in this movie, it's kind of weird. But but at the end, I really liked it. I liked that Obi-Wan sacrificed himself to give a distraction so that way they could escape. And I just like there's an adventurous feel to this movie, almost like an Indiana Jones kind of type feel. When they fall into like the garbage chute and the walls start closing in on them. I really love that scene. And I just love this movie. This was definitely the most watched movie other than Episode 3. Episode 3, even though I'm not a big fan of it when I was a kid, that was probably the most watched in my household. But this was definitely the most watched of the original trilogy, and I just love everything about it. And even though all the cool stuff happens in the following 2, I think this definitely has maybe the best.
And without this one, you wouldn't have the other ones.
Maybe the best, like in terms of like emotion. It probably has the best emotional scenes other than 1, which is at the end of the next movie on my list.
All right, my number 2 is Empire Strikes Back. Now, I just want to say before I talk about this one, I find this to be the best movie by far, and I don't really have anything wrong with this movie. Everything from start to finish is basically perfect. It's just not my favorite one, but I think literally everything about this movie is so intense and it's so fun. Like, it hits every single beat right that I feel like a movie should. I don't know if it's in my top 10 favorite movies, but it's one of my favorite movies. I really love that movie.
All right, and my number 1 is Empire Strikes Back. It's just because of everything in total. This is definitely a darker movie than the first one, unintentionally. But it's just a darker movie. I feel like the ending scene, the "No, I am your father" line is easily the most infamous line one of the most infamous lines, I should say, in movie history. Even people that don't watch Star Wars probably know that line. Also, like the scene where Han goes out to save Luke when he's in danger. That's a really good scene and really shows that Han does have a heart, even though he doesn't show it and he has like emotions. Also, like the very end scene when Han's about to get frozen in carbonite, and as he's going down, Leia says, "I love you," and he's like, "I know," and that was just a really beautiful scene too.
Yeah, him getting frozen was such a shocker.
And great cliffhanger of a movie right there. Just everything was super well done. There's just everything I think is done perfectly with this movie. The graphics look amazing, despite the fact that this was made before the prequels. This looks a million times better than the prequels in every single aspect, and it's because they didn't use CGI. They used practical effects. They used stop motion, and I think that was the best choice for this movie. This is also the introduction to Yoda, which I think would, obviously went on to be one of the most popular characters in Star Wars history, one of the most quotable. And I also like how, and then, obviously he didn't gain his full powers in this. He randomly gained them at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, which is weird, but, anyways, I like that this movie set up that he was going to come back, and then in the following movie he kept his word, went back to Dagobah to finish his training, only for Yoda to die, so he didn't finish his training. But I like everything about this movie. There's just nothing I don't like. That's really it.
My number one, which I think is probably the worst of the original trilogy, but it's my favorite, is Return of the Jedi. Yes, the Ewoks are annoying. Yes, there are other stupid things in this movie too. But ever since I was a kid, whenever I was going to put in a movie, it was this one or Revenge of the Sith, which I've gone to not really... I think Revenge of the Sith is fun, but I've grown on to not really like that movie that much. But I still just really love something about Return of the Jedi. There's something from the moment it starts to the end I just find so fun about the movie. I love that Luke has his green lightsaber. I love the end fight scene, which I said earlier in this video, but I think that was the end fight scene with him, Vader, and when the end fight scene of this movie is my favorite scene in all of Star Wars movies and TV shows combined. Something about that scene is just so perfect to me. Like, the movie itself is definitely not perfect, but I just love like that scene so much, and I just feel like so much of the fun things happened. Like the Jabba the Hutt stuff was kind of annoying at the beginning, but I also did like their little battle at Jabba's palace and everything. And just this, ever since I was little, this has just always been my favorite.
Fun fact, this is the last one of the video, so enjoy it. Return of the Jedi was originally going to be called Revenge of the Jedi, but because the Jedi aren't designed to get revenge, he decided to change it to Return of the Jedi, and they would later use the revenge title in Revenge of the Sith, because the Sith are the ones that get revenge. Jedi do not. You're welcome. Alright, so there's our rankings right there. We can all agree right now that Batman v Superman is the best Star Wars movie of all time. Really good stuff. Star Wars is my favorite franchise, and I cannot wait to see what they do next. I know that Rise of Skywalker wasn't the end of the main episodes. I just know it. They're going to make an episode 10 here soon. I know it. But anyways, I think we can both agree Star Wars is amongst our top 5 favorite franchises. Would you agree?
Yes, it's in mine.
So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have not seen Star Wars, what are you doing with your life? Go out and watch the Star Wars. I just realized you've been wearing that shirt.
I know. I was not intentional, by the way. Every time we do anything Star Wars related, I always happen to be wearing this. And like the 3 times I saw that movie in theaters, I happened to be wearing this shirt.
So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Tyler.
I'm Matt.
And don't forget to appreciate George Lucas's directorial vision.